I have no idea what you guys talking about. So, vertical guidance. This thing is moving in here. What looks like a glide slope. I'm going to be very courageous and just press the glide slope button. And at this point, I'm going down to 2000 RPM. So, oh, my nav1 is tuned. Yeah, nav1 I'm not using. I'm on the HSI1. Sorry, CDI1. CDI1 is showing the GPS, as we can see here, and the CDI2 is showing the 108.8, the Fayetteville VOR. So 114.7 we are actually not using right now. So the vertical guidance you were talking about, the vertical guidance you see here comes from the GPS. And what the GPS does is it gives us the guidance to cross the engine intersection or whatever that name is at 1,500 feet. All right, so 1,500, engine is coming up. We're a little bit low and we're also a little bit slow. If I was with a student, I would now get very worried. So let's put in 10 degrees of flaps. Okay, and this vertical guidance here is extremely tricky because you have to pay attention to the detail. In this little window down here on the GPS, it says LNAV plus V, which is different from another indication you can see with other approaches that says LNAV VNAV or L-VNAV, LNAV and VNAV. So L-VNAV is authoritative. It's based on a slope coded into the final approach segment of the approach. So, and this is not, if it says plus V, it's advisory only. That's just the GPS saying, okay, we need to be at 1,500 here, we were at 2,000 here, we kind of have to end up at 820 there, I'm going to fudge a straight line through it. And that's what it does. So it's helpful, but it's not authoritative. And you have to observe the chart and know your minima and do not trust the GPS on actually taking you down to the right minima. And also, what is also peculiar about this one, it has a linear deflection as opposed to what you're used from an ILS. If you're tracking an ILS glide slope, you have an angular deflection, which means it gets more sensitive the closer you are to the runway. And that is not the case with the LNAV plus V advisory guidance. That one just stays the same low sensitivity all the way down to the runway, which is why when you would just couple it with the autopilot and try to do an auto land with it, it's actually not sensitive enough to give the autopilot enough gain to fly that. And what happens if you just follow that blindly or let the autopilot follow it? You will end up in the approach lights and you will crash short of the runway. I'm going to show you another kind of GPS approach later that does not have this kind of problem, the so-called LPV approach, localizer performance with vertical guidance. We also support this in the future of X-Plane then. All right, so what happens now is we're about 100 feet above our circling minima. At this point I go heads up and I see, hey, we actually have visual contact. So I'm going to kind of turn into a base leg here. Please do not show this stream recording to any of my students because I'm not flying very precise here while trying to figure out what's going on. Okay, what I would really like to have now is a bigger monitor. By the way, I'm recording this on an 8-year-old machine. This is why the graphics are so crappy, because this is an 8-year-old computer I'm recording this on. And basically all the settings are down to minimums. Okay, we pretend now, because I'm flying so bad, that we didn't make the runway, so full power, flaps up, and how do we go into the missed approach? Well, the GPS says it's in suspend mode right now, because it doesn't know, did we see the runway, did we land, are we going around? And in order to tell the GPS, yeah, we're doing the go around now. I unsuspend and go into the missed approach and recouple the autopilot and yeah, let the GPS and the autopilot fly the missed approach. Okay. All right. And then it takes us back into the holding, and I'm not going to show you this because flying holdings is boring. Oh, I need a setting for this. I always end up on the left seat. It's so weird. Okay, so we talked about GPS approaches with advisory vertical guidance that you cannot follow blindly, that will just take you into the ground or the lights short of the runway. Let's take a look at a different kind of GPS approach that is a hell of a lot more precise, and that is also that you also get with the new SIF nav data. So for this, we are going to a very, very, very special airport, to 6 Juliet O, the Lexington County Airport at Peelington, South Carolina. Let's go there. Yep, start new flight. Why is the Peelian Airport, the Lexington County at Peelian Airport in South Carolina so important? Let's bring it up here and take a look. So we're going to 6 Juliet 0, and let's pull up the approach plate for the runway 18 approach. There you go. All right, what's so special about this airport? This airport is special because it is the very airport I made my very first solo flight at. I guess we posted this to Facebook back then with the Flight Factor website sometime in, I don't know, when was that? June 2013, I guess. So anyway, Lexington County at Peelian Airport, the very airport I made my very first solo flight in a 172, November 37 Charlie Juliet. And so this is why I'm going back to this airport now. Okay, and if we look at the minima section of this approach right now, we see a lot more stuff than on the other approach plate. So circling minima, that's still the same stuff. Circling minima is we're not aligned with the runway, we come out in the general vicinity of the airport, we go visual, and we fly a traffic pattern and land. And now we have 3 more restrictive categories of minima here. And that would be LNAV, LNAV slash VNAV, important, it's a slash, it's not a plus, and LPV. And the one that is most important for us right now is LPV, Localizer Performance with Vertical Guidance, because that is the very best you can do with the WAAS GPS in the real world right now, and also the best you can do in X-Plane. And as you can see, the minima are actually fairly low. It brings us down to basically Cat 1 ILS minima, all on GPS. And what is important to know about this LPV stuff is if you load this into the GPS, the deflections you get on the CDI are actually angular. And the glide slope needle actually behaves like an ILS glide slope in that it becomes more sensitive the nearer you get to the runway. And this is actually precise enough to couple it with the autopilot and come out 50 feet above the runway. Okay, so without further ado, let's try to do this. Let's clear all of this out and make a new flight plan. No, we actually make only a new approach. 26 Juliet 0, RNAV 18 GPS, vectors load. And to save us a little bit of time, I'll just put us right in the air. Yeah, no, that's not what I was looking for. Nope, there we go. Perfect, that's what I wanted. Let's see. Oh, this is actually way too close. Hang on, I need the 10 miles out thing. Change location. In the air, 10 miles out, runway 18, confirm. Do new flight. Blop, here we are. Perfect. Okay, pause. Let's see. What is showing up in the chat? Do you speak German? Ja, das mache ich. Deutsch ist meine Muttersprache. I have a request popping up. What does that mean? A request to... Oh, a friend request. Okay, whatever. All right. There you go. Is anyone still there? The chat is surprisingly silent. Okay. Okay. Chat is still working. That is encouraging. So let's do an activate vector to final on the approach and turn on the autopilot. Altitude hold. Which altitude are we supposed to be here right now? 2,700. It's a little low. Okay, whatever. Okay, we're coming in. And you see on the GPS now that the final approach segment is active. And you see the new indication right here that says LPV. And that is the indication that it gives you the angular sensitivity on the horizontal and also on the vertical guidance. So whenever the GPS says LPV in this field, you can actually use the LPV minima on the approach plate, which means we can go down to 756 feet. Okay, 756 feet barometric altitude, right? So, trick question: what happens if I set the wrong altimeter setting? Will that screw up my vertical guidance? And the answer is no, not for the LPV approach. It'll totally screw up your vertical guidance if you're flying LNAV/VNAV with a baro VNAV system, like you find in an airliner, 757, 777, whatever. Those airliners use barometric altitude to do the VNAV functions. So on a LNAV/VNAV approach, setting the wrong altimeter setting will screw up your approach. LPV, on the other hand, is different. LPV works by a point in the GPS database that is referenced. It actually works. It works like a virtual glide slope in that it places a virtual antenna at your touchdown point and make sure you cross your threshold at typically 50 feet.